All right, welcome back, guys. It's day 4 of our our optical illusion art lesson. So today I am doing what I would normally do in my third grade classes. So we've shown you guys. I've got some other videos in here. I've got my kindergarten lesson. If you were watching, I've got my first grade simple one. I've got a more complex second grade. Now, for those of you guys who were watching yesterday, the second grade off art was not that one. This one was a more complex. We ended up doing this one for second grade with complementary color schemes. But I showed a few people if you wanted to do that as well. Now, today we're going to be doing my third grade lesson. My third grade lesson is a little bit different. It has to do with shapes, designs, and we are creating, hopefully, with complementary color schemes. So, once again, here is the one that kind of like is an optical illusion. It's all about pattern and opposites. Once again, in my third grade classes, I really preface that I think you should be using complementary color schemes. I try to touch on that. Here's my heart one. Here's one with a star. Kids seem to really like this one. This one is hard. You need to be very precise because I don't let the kids draw those stars that have the lines to it. You have to kind of like draw an open-ended star and you work it out. And it looks really cool, kind of mess with your eyes, especially if you can get the coloring really well. So this is the harder steps. I tell my students that this is also still kind of a harder one. And we also focus on the circle. So if you want to follow along with me, get yourself a piece of paper and a pencil, and we'll be going off some of the diagrams. If you would like, you can actually pause the video real quick and write these down. These are the steps that we do on our art, our optical illusion project for third grade. So, step 1 is we're going to pick a shape. Now, I recommend squares, or circles, or diamonds, or triangles at first. These are the easy ones. Then I could say a heart is a little more complex. It's got more little nuances and little things. And then last but not least, if someone wanted to get really fancy, you can do the star. You just got to be precise. There's lots of angles with that one. And then it says draw 6 to 9 times. So if you can look right here, I drew a circle and I drew it 6 to 9 times. Now, when I say draw something 6 to 9 times, I'd like you to try to like pick a spot that you're going to like start. I'll go ahead and do the heart. We've been seeing lots of hearts. I really like the heart as well. You don't want to necessarily start right in the center, but you don't want to get too close to the edge. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a heart, kind of small at first, but you are only going to have to draw 6 to 9 of these hearts. So that's one. Now, here's the problem. Once you get close to the edge, don't be afraid of the edge. You're going to just actually keep on drawing off the edge. As you make your hearts or your shape, they need to get progressively bigger, not touching. So here's my second one. I want to kind of keep the same shape. So that's 2. The first couple of shapes should be simple because you're not too close to the edge. You should be able to make them big. Now, when I say 6 to 9, you're like, Mr. Griffin, you still have all this room. I know. What's going to happen is we're going to start getting bigger. That's 3. Now, as I'm getting closer to the edge, don't be afraid of the edge. Don't try to magnet to your shape. What you're going to do is you're going to actually just go off the edge of the piece of paper and pick up. So if you see, I went off the edge of the piece of paper and I'm going to pick back up where I want. Okay, so there's my fourth one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can see, all my rest of them are going to have to definitely go off the edge of the piece of paper. So here's my 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth one goes off the edge of the piece of paper. I follow along where the heart would be. And I come down over here. I'm going to go up. I'm going to follow it along over here. Now, I've got a little bit more space over here. I might be able to do one more shape right here. That probably would be my 6th one. Now, don't just stop and keep on going up this way because this is still a full shape. It needs to continue on. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to pretend where this heart comes, and I'm going to do this over here. And it just goes off the edge of the piece of paper. Same with over here in this corner. Now, I'm pretty much done with this corner, but I have a little bit of space left over here. Let's count how many hearts I have. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have room to possibly put one more little dash. Now, I know some of you guys are saying, Mr. Griffin, that's not a shape. You're right. That's not the heart. But if the heart would be continued on, it would be part of it. I might even have a little bit of room to draw one more little dash just to keep the spacing progressive. So if that was 6 and this is 7, that's technically 8 out of my 9 shapes that I recommended. So this is the heart that I was talking about. And if you look, I also did a circle for those of you. It still will look pretty easily, okay? Now, if anybody tried a really hard one, here's my star. Now I've got a star, and we've got to pay attention to this. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to just keep on making my star slightly bigger. Now, if I go off the edge of the piece of paper, remember, don't be afraid to go off the edge of the piece of paper. I don't want you to magnet to your other shapes. When I say magnet, I don't want you to get drawn in. Now, I don't know if I can put a star here or not, so I'm going to just ignore it. All right, so I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have room for maybe 6 and 7. So I'm going to go up, copy my shape. Copy the shape that you just did, but fill in the little spaces. Now this is the hardest one because there's so many different angles that you are doing. And I think we could probably stop there. If somebody felt like they could do one more little dash, feel free. If you feel like you could do one more little dash, feel free. And one more time, like I said, if you feel like you could do one more. I probably didn't need that one. That's getting a little too close. But total is that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 kinds of stars. So this is what I mean by 6 to 9 stars. Don't make it so small. It's going to be complicated enough. Notice my spacing is one of my big old fat fingers, if not more. So even down here, I have a good size spacing for it. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. Now, if you remember, the next step was to pick a line and a direction. So pick a line and a direction. Now, when I say line, I mean pick a either straight line, a wavy line, or a zigzag line. Okay, if you're doing a curve, it might be nice to do a straight line. You could do any of these would work on it. It'll work just fine. But you might not want to focus on this zigzag. This is the hard one. So, for instance, if you did a star, I would not recommend doing a zigzag. It might work. It might be super crazy, complicated. But let's pick a line and a direction. So, I'm going to go ahead and pick the curve one for this circle. And I am going to pick I'm going to pick a zigzag for my star, and I'm going to pick the curve for my star, a zigzag for my heart. Sorry. And the second part is pick a direction. Now, if you look over here, this is either horizontal, vertical, or one of the two diagonals. One of the two diagonals. So let's say Mr. Griffin wants to do a diagonal. Guys, you can do these. I'm leaning towards these, but these work just as fine. If I would have done that, that's fine. And then you draw once again 6 to 9 of your lines. So actually, I'm going to just make this one easier. I'm going to pick a straight line. I'm going to do a curvy line, and I might do a zigzag line as well, just to show you the different chances. Okay, this one's going to just be, I'm going to do a horizontal line. So I'm going to pick somewhere, and I'm going to draw a straight horizontal line. Now draw right through your shapes, and then move up. So that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4, that's 5, That's 6. And I could call it good there. I've got my design. I've got my pattern. That's 6. Pretty easy. Now, if I wanted to do a heart, maybe this one I'll do a zigzag too. And I will try my best to do a diagonal. I'll do one of the diagonals. Okay? So I'm going to start somewhere. Don't try to connect it to your heart, but just try to do one. Oops. Make sure you have your zigzag going off the edge of the piece of paper. You can't have any random line that doesn't go off the edge. So zigzag, zigzag, zigzag. So there's one. This is going to be a little trickier. I'm going to start off the edge of the piece of paper. Don't make your zigzag too complicated. Mr. Griffin might have gotten a little too complicated with that, but that's 2. I'm moving up along my same diagonal. You cannot change your diagonals. You can't do more than one section of line. So make sure it goes off the edge of the piece of paper. Zigzag. All right, my zigzag got a little crazy. All right, so there's 3, 4, 5. I have enough room for possibly a little bit one. So I'm going to do one more here. And I think that's fine. I possibly could put one more right here, but I don't know. Guys, I think my zigzag might be a little too close. I'm going to try for it because I really want to. Now, don't cross your zigzags. Don't cross your lines. So, your lines cannot intersect with each other. So, I have 6 to 9 lines right there. And then last but not least, I'm going to do my star. Now, I'm going to do my star. What did I do? I did horizontal. I'm going to do a vertical, and I'm going to do the wavy line. So I already did a zigzag. So since these are straight lines, I think this will work out a little better. So watch. I'm going to go ahead and just start 1. And you got to go all the way down to the edge of the piece of paper. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I got my little wavy one. All right. I'm not going to have time to color all of these, but these are some of the options that you guys could do. As you can tell, the last step in this process is to pick 2 colors. Mr. Griffin likes to do complementary colors. I've talked about that before. This is like the purple and yellow pattern. And then you've got the red and green right here as well. So I got some markers over here. You can use markers, crayons, colored pencils, whatever you have. I just happen to have some markers right next to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do markers. Now, I want you guys to look right here. This is going to be the hard part. I'm going to try my best to get this done fairly quickly. So I've got a baby blue, and I'm going to, anybody know what the complementary color of blue is? Yo, I heard someone in the background say orange. They are correct. So I'm going to do vermilion because I don't have a better orange than that. I know it kind of looks like red, but I don't have the best collection of markers right here in this pouch. So I'm going to try to do this. Now, here is the trick. If you were watching the other day, we talked about how you cannot cross lines. Well, that's going to be the same with this rule. You cannot cross a line. I also recommend to do a color safari. So if you're going to start with one color, you're going to do the whole section with that color, and you're doing the bouncing from point to point to point to point. So it doesn't matter where you start as long as you're continuing on going out there from point to point. So let's start right here in the star. Now I'm going to go ahead and start coloring. Now I like this part. I like to color. I like to stay inside my lines. But I want you to understand that whenever you are doing this in your lines, You cannot jump your line. You cannot jump your line. So let's pay attention. If you cannot jump a line, if this is blue, this can't be blue, this can't be blue, this can't be blue, and neither can this other half. But what's really fun is these blues touch at a point. So this blue touches at a point. They touch at a point. So watch what I can do. I can then come on the outside of this star, and I'm going to actually be coloring in this side. Now, maybe you can go a little slower than Mr. Griffin. And I'm not going to waste all your guys' time. I did a long video yesterday coloring because, well, one, Mr. Griffin really likes to color. But what I would do is once you start understanding the pattern, this is what I tell students to do. Once you understand the pattern, you can actually go through and say, well, if this is blue, then that is blue. And if this is blue, you just follow along and say, well, this is blue. So you see how, and then you can just start coloring in little sections. Now, everyone say serious. Serious. Now, look what I've noticed. This blue looks like it touches this in a line, but it doesn't, guys. Here's what's really tricky. Look, this blue touches this section as a line right here. So this whole section is also going to be blue. Even though this section is all blue, even though that section is all blue, I'm trying to get this done. I'm like one of those perfectionists. I can't stop halfway, so bear with me, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get this little section done. Can't stop in the middle. All right, now, if you notice, I can't really zoom it in, but if you look really closely, there's a little gap right there. You see a little gap? That little gap is actually supposed to be this orange section. So that gives me the capability of doing blue over here. So that's orange, and then this section right here would be orange. Now, like Mr. Griffin said, I would have normally done all my blues first, and I still recommend it. I'm just giving you guys a little tutorial, so hopefully it makes sense. This one's a little harder. I do this with third graders. I still have third graders mess up. Don't get discouraged if you do mess up, but now we can see how this big section can be blue with that little bit of orange gap. So whenever you get these little patterns, and that's why I said you might not want to do too complex of lines. Honestly, sometimes the easiest straight lines are the best. So I'm going to finish this section. I'm going to then go back to showing you my other star picture that I did with crayons. And then we'll say our goodbyes. And I will see you next time. So that's that. Once again, if you continue on with this pattern, you should be able to get something really cool like this. You just keep on jumping ship. Everywhere there's a line, it's going to be a different color. Continuing on, following along. When you have these curved lines, see how they just meet at little points. I hope this was fun for you. I know this was fun for me. I love the teaching optical illusions. So, until tomorrow, I will see you guys next time. Have fun. Love you. Wash your hands. Be safe.